I'm the first one to do that. I bet you never knew that. Back like a tailbone. Who you got the tail on? If it ain't about me, about whole D, about face. If you ain't on higher, learn it. The soda in the pot and the fire, burn it. This shit is so dope. You might wanna be my guest. This shit is so dope. You might wanna be my.
Hello everybody. TCT here. Welcome to another review. I like to start my reviews with a positive note. I am in such of a great mood today, but that's because this week has been very ecstatic for me. There's been a couple of problems, but not to the point where I have to solve them. I'll let God handle those problems. But above all, I have been playing one of my favorite games of all time. I think that's like the biggest thing that has been making me in a good mood ratio, and that is Summoner. They finally released this on the PlayStation 4 and 5 with trophies. I never thought I'd see the light of day. Buy it. Well, all you guys know, Summoner is one of my favorite games of all time. Check out the review. It's up there. But we ain't here to talk about that. We're here to talk about Akame Kill. We're here to talk about this anime. One of the most anticipated animes for me to talk about on this channel since I first started being a YouTuber. Sorry that it took me this long to talk about it, but we're here now. So better late than never. Better ever than forever, right? Akame Kill is a Japanese animation television series that's been created by Takehiro and Tetsuya Tashiro, a young fighter named Tatsui, who travels to the capital city to earn money for his village. However, he discovers that the capital is corrupt, and by finding this out, he joins the assassin group called Night Raid to fight the entire government and the main ones responsible. This anime was great, fantastic in a way. A very, very good miss too for anime lovers, and I'm saying that because I wouldn't have came across this anime if it wasn't for a good, known, old school YouTuber that is known by doing a lot of good anime reviews, and his name is Anthony, aka the Black Critic Guy. I recommend you guys checking out his material. He kind of stopped making videos a long time ago so he can catch up on his daily activities, and above all, just to do things in basis. I don't think YouTube was his main forte to begin with, but this is a big shout out to him because if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have came across his masterpiece. The anime picks off at a very fair pace, but at the same time they want to give us a little bit more dialogue to the whole character, especially with Tatsumi's character. The whole anime is basically based on him. The visuality and just how he's going to live his life through this whole project, and they do so pretty well with this character. They want to start off by us knowing his village, knowing his friends, and just knowing how he is when it comes to him being a survivor. And I liked that. I liked it, the fact that they show us his capabilities, because this anime is not a spring chicken series for people to just draw themselves into this project and not being aware of how dangerous this whole project is when it comes to him being in the heat of battle. But what I like about Tatsumi is that by this anime being an action anime, I thought he was going to be a badass. I thought he was going to be like one of those characters that's very outspoken, but Tatsumi is a very reasonable character. He's a very nice character, and trust me, there are certain things, some things about his character that makes you question his logic of his own mental capabilities. Like, for example, when we meet him and when he goes to the capital, he gets hit with a lot of bad luck. For example, he goes into a bar, he meets somebody, he gets robbed, he gets swindled, and his money is completely stolen. And then after that, he meets someone and they take him in for shelter to take care of him until he gets his shit taken care of. So he gets hit with a couple of these crossballs, and as this happens, we get more further into the project, and actually we get further into what the whole capital is based on with this whole series. And to be fair, the whole series is focused on the capital. The capital is pretty fucked up, and they showed this without any warning. And for Tatsui, when they showed his character witnessing how fucked up the capital is, it hit us off guard. And this was on the very first episode. We thought things were going to be well for him, but he gets hit in the back burner so bad to the point where it ended up costing the lives of a couple people that he'd known very well. And then when this happens, when he ends up being shown Night Raid. Night Raid is this gang of criminals. Well, they call them criminals, but honestly, I think they just rogue vigilantes that goes around and kills and assassinates anybody that's in the field of corruption. And when Tatsumi witnesses this, he is left with a choice to join Night Raid or to just go on with his life. But he decides to join Night Raid because he's a good guy. And I think that might be the reason why I don't think Night Raid is bad. Because by him joining Night Raid and how he is as a person, like I mentioned, he opened the eyes of a lot of people that is in the Night Raid that begins to be nice people or begin to open up to him, making me like more characters in the project. And we do as well when the series continues. Like Akame, for example. Akame is easily one of the most quiet characters on the series, but she has a reason for that, and it's because of how she was as a kid and how she is now when it comes to her being in Night Raid. Just the corruption being around her and her being involved in this corruption and what it did to her as a child, and her being involved in Night Raid so she can just take down the enemies and prevent that from happening to any other person that is too young to defend themselves. Akame was easily one of my favorite characters, but I can't say she grew with me because I've seen a lot of characters like this. When it comes to animes showing different types of movesets with characters, they always have a rough past and they have this same type of emotion. It probably would have made me like her more if she had like a different side of her that was unpredictable. But I think that might be the reason why I liked her sister more than I liked Akame. Then we have Leon. Leon, I like her. Leon, she is outspoken, she is witty, she breaks the fourth wall. She was giving me a lot of Deadpool vibes. When it comes to her fighting certain enemies or just having the upper hand, or maybe when the odds are stacked against her, I never was afraid that she may die because she just was just this character that didn't fear anything. She cracked jokes, and there were times where, don't get it twisted, there were times where she would get pissed off, but by her not showing no types of limitations of her humor, she never showed no types of limitations of her being angry. So I would fear the enemies whenever she gets pissed off. I liked her character. I feel like she was like the brutes until I met Bro. Bro, which is called Bulat. He is my all-time favorite character. I love his character so much. He is a gay character, and I think he is like the most funniest. There will be times he try to throw passes at Tatsui, and it would just make him cringe. But at the same time, he is a very heartwarming character, very cool, very, very likable character. And above all, he does what he needs to do when it comes to him being very agile and being professional of getting the job done. In my opinion, I think he kind of balanced the series pretty well when it comes to the pacing of the project. And I almost forgot to mention that even though I'm mentioning these characters in Night Raid, these characters also have abilities too to help them have the upper hand in combat, which is called trump cards. And these trump cards are very effective. Sometimes they have the upper hand to the point where you feel like they are very, very invulnerable to the enemies. Or these trump cards may have some big side effects that can cost them dearly when they use it too much or maybe even one time. Like Akame, for example, she has a sword. And I think she has like the only ability that has like a normal effect. I can't say normal, it's still fiction, but it's like not out there. And her sword has a poison effect to it to the point where if you get cut by it, stabbed with it, or maybe even a scratch, the poison will rupture inside your body and kill you instantly. This happens a lot when she fights enemies. And it made me wonder if the poison that is that deadly, how the hell can she wield it without even cutting herself? But they even explained it. They even showed a part in the episode where Tatsui even asks Akame, how do you even clean the sword when it gets too dirty? Leon, I forgot to mention as well, she is a person that has tiger wielding ability. She even has tiger claws as well. And by her having tiger claws, she is the brute of the anime project, which is the same as Bulat. But unlike Leon, Bulat, he has armor. Bulat has an armor ability that can increases its effects each time he fights enemies, and he has a pole as well, like a staff in a way that can literally obliterate enemies when he uses it correctly and wield it in a way where he can have the upper hand. Mine didn't even mention her at all, but that's because there are so many characters on Night Raid I don't want to explain too much of them. But Mine, I think she may have one of my favorite trump cards in the anime because she has a gun. And this gun is fucking diabolical. But the effect of this gun, it gets powerful when the threat is more dangerous. So if she has too many enemies around her, or if the enemy is too strong for her, then the big gun will immediately notice that in the potential and the kickback of this weapon will kick even more harder. That's I don't even know how to explain that shit. But that's her trump card. But how she is as a person, I'ma just go ahead and say this. She is one of the bitchy characters on Night Raid, but not in a way where you don't like her. She opens up because when she meets Tasui, we begin to know more about her character and why she is the way she is. And honestly, she grew with me to the point where I end up liking her, and they end up becoming more relatable when it comes to them expressing their bonds to each other. There's more characters on the Night Raid group, but I don't want to mention them all because by me mentioning all of them, then I have to kind of spoil the whole series. But I will end this topic by saying this: when we know enough about these characters, this is when the whole series begins to not shy away when it comes to the pacing. In fact, they kind of throw the pacing out of the water and just give us action. They give us a lot of it. And this was when I was beginning to get hooked, because when I was beginning to know about Tatsui, know about Night Raid, know about the characters, we know more about them when it comes to them getting into battle, fighting these corrupted people, fighting these enemies. And don't get it twisted, these enemies are not fucking easy to take down. Anybody that has watched Akame get killed will tell you that shit. And the reason why I'm saying that is because even though the characters in Night Raid have abilities, they have advantages, they have trump cards, they have powers, you motherfuckers don't think that the enemies don't have that either? They do. In fact, these enemies have more advantage than than Night Raid, because these enemies are corrupted, they're fucked up, so they are going to use a corruption and they fucked up minds to get the upper hand, to have the advantage. So there are going to be times where they're going to try to get Night Raid while they off guard, and there's going to be times where they play dirty. And this is when we have this is when the series puts us in the hinges of us being in the edge of our seat. And I like that, because I feel like if you're going to have animes that starts off with strong characters, we need to have the enemy stronger, or have the better advantage, or have them be smarter. I do not want my characters to be able to overcome everything. It ruins the whole anime premise for me, and actually it makes it boring in certain ways. But Akame Kill does not do that. Every single time they get into battle, or when they come to these altercations with enemies, or even when they begin to fight one-on-one instead of just fighting armies, there's a time when I do feel like these characters can get killed off. And they have proved this, because on episode 6, they have not just killed off a character, but they killed off a character that was easily unpredictable. And I'm like, what the hell? Now, to be fair, the death I've seen coming, because it was the way how they played it off. Or maybe I've seen too many animes and too many shows and too many projects that when a character gets their guard let down, it's only because we are gonna be impacted with them paying for that shit. And they showed that. But I did not want that character to get killed off like that. But they did that to make us be aware that these characters in Night Raid are not invincible. They can get killed off just as easily, and they don't shy away from that shit. So this is a warning for people that gets easily attached to anime projects when it comes to good character variation, because when we get to know more about these characters when the series continues, protect your heart. I watched this a long time ago, thanks to the Black Critic guy, and I still wasn't prepared. I watched it twice, and my girlfriend wasn't prepared either. But what I like about this series is that even though they show these bad guys having the upper hand and killing off some good guys, you kind of don't hate the bad guys for it, because we get enough pacing with the enemies as well, showing us their dedication, showing us their motivations. And there was even times where they show us their backstories too, showing us their family members, and just showing us their reason of why they're involved in the whole corruption to begin with. I'm not saying all bad guys on this series you're gonna like. Some of them you're gonna understand. Some of them you're gonna feel like you don't want them to get killed off. I'm telling you this right now. And some of them you want to get killed. Some of them you really want them to fucking die, because when they kill one of your favorite characters on the series, it's an instant kill switch for you, and you be like, you know what, they better fucking get killed horribly. And I think that's very necessary. I feel like if you're going to do that with a project like this, how about we try to understand the enemy before we end up seeing their final days? I agree it's bold to do this, but if you make it successful, we don't have a problem with it at all. And what is good enemies without a good main boss? And the main boss was great, beautiful, and that is Esdeath. Esdeath was giving me so much chills, no pun intended, because she has ice abilities. But Esdeath, I like how they revealed her before they showed her. And what I mean by that is they talked about her and her abilities before she was even shown in the anime. Just ghost stories about her, saying that they called her the Ice Witch, where she would just not just go into villages and just kill people, but she would just freeze them all to death with a big freeze wave. And that's just how diabolical she is. She was giving me so much Rao vibes from Fist of the North Star. You hear ghost stories about these people and how scary they are, and then when you see them, you just freeze up. And I felt that way every time I saw her. And the pacing of her character was also pretty good too, because we not just know Esdeath, but we begin to understand why she did the things that she did as a person. And that's actually more important than the pacing of good guys, because when you try to get the pacing of bad guys, you want us to not just like them, but also relate and understand their motivations. And it makes the enemies feel realistic, in my opinion. The anime from start to finish is great. When they was beginning to show us the deaths of these characters, show us the fights of these characters, show us the pacing and the motivations and the angles of these characters, this is when I was getting drawn in more and more and more. And honestly, the final episode was great. It was good. I honestly did not have the problem with it at all. It was good poetic justice, and it ended in a way where, even though they have continued the manga, I did not read the manga because I was satisfied of what I've seen on the screen. Akame Kill ended in a way where I'm not really mad about. Only way I'll be mad is if it ended with unanswered questions, but it ended in a way where I was happy. I was satisfied, especially the final battle. The final battle was nail-biting. The final battle was tense. I was literally like on the edge of my seat. Even when I was watching the second time, my girlfriend, I was literally just... I could not explain it. Like, the rest of those final minutes of the project, I knew there was going to be casualties, and they actually revealed a crazy trump card too that I forgot that this person had, but they never showed. And I'm like, whoa, this is fucking insane. But is this anime perfect? No. And the reason why, and I think I probably would have excused it if the black critic guy, I keep mentioning his name, but he was actually right with this criticism, is that the deaths are powerful on here. When these characters get killed, you're going to feel a certain way. But they decide to pull the whole cliche aspect into the project by making it rain every time there's a death in the anime. Why? And I agree with them. I felt like there was no need for it. We already felt the impact. We already felt the immersion. We felt the sympathy. We felt, the sentimental aspect of the death of these characters. They show flashbacks. They showed us how these characters live their lives, and they showed us their motivations. So we don't need a raining scene, especially every single time. So I feel like that was cliche. I feel like it was unnecessary. And above all, I feel like they kind of hurted the series when it comes to us believing the deaths of these characters. It's not going to rain every single time a person dies. If that was the case, then this whole world would be flooded a long time ago. Overall, spite my criticism about the deaths on here, this anime was great. This anime still may make people disagree with my method of how I feel about the deaths on here, but that's more reason for people to check it out. If that's not enough for you to not be drawn away from this, then this is no reason for you to watch Akame Kill, so we can discuss about this in the comments. I'm gonna have to give Akame Kill an A. One of the easiest animes to be recommended for people that is not into anime, and also for people who loves action as well. This anime was great. It was phenomenal. It doesn't really drag that much, and the only time when it drags is when they show us some downtime with the characters when it comes to us being introduced at their past. This anime was polished in a great way, and I wish that more animes would do this. There's so many animes that gets us filler when it comes to certain seasons being released, but Akame ga Kill don't do that shit. And that's actually one of the reasons why I'm afraid to read the manga, because I feel like they might do most of that in the manga when it comes to the pacing of new characters that they may show into the project later hands. But what the hell am I talking about? This series came out a long while ago. If they were going to make another series about this, they would have already done that. So I think this is a set in stone piece that they're done doing. But other than that, that's all I have to say for today. Please stay tuned for more of my upcoming anime reviews and videos headed your way. This is Hugo, your critic teacher, and I hope you all have a good day.